Welcome, lovely one, to the Meant for More podcast. My name's Lisa Clifford, and I am building the world's most empowering Meant for More movement, leading millions of heart-led purpose seekers from feeling insignificant to invincible. So I truly hope you enjoy this next episode. Our next guest is Harriet Bratt, an international speaker trainer, warrior, and Firewalk guide. Harriet is all about empowering business entrepreneurs to own the stage and make an impact and difference in their worlds aligned with their purpose by using their voice, by presenting themselves in an authentic way, in a way that's true for them. In this episode, we cover Harriet's journey from being a care home manager to being an international speaker trainer. We talk about the fear of public speaking. We talk about what it's been like to bomb on the stage. We talk about who are we really talking to when we're on the stage and how can we connect with our audiences. I think you'll find Harriet's energy and passion for what she does infectious. She really is one of life's incredible, energized, professional experts in her field and an absolutely gorgeous human being. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Lovely Harriet. Let's begin with, can you think of a time in your life, a moment or even an experience or a complete redirection that you had that I'm meant for more feeling or knowing or inkling? Was it just a stirring or was it a great big boulder?
Absolutely. And of course, first of all, it's wonderful to be here with you, amazing Lisa, and your listeners. And for more, I think I would imagine a lot of people on this podcast give a similar answer in that there's many moments of meant for more. But I think for me, when I read, you had this beautiful brief to the podcast, and when I read those words meant for more, it just hit me in my core. Because there was absolutely that time that I said those exact words. And for me, that was the pivotal moment. At the time, I was a care home manager. I was in a completely different world. Like probably yourself and so many of your listeners, I was at a stage where I felt stressed, overwhelmed, unappreciated, working way too many hours, etc., etc. The list goes on. And at that time, I started doing a psychology course. And when I started receiving, absorbing, learning the information, I literally turned around to my husband, and Lisa, knowing me, can picture this. I turned around to my husband, I shut that folder so hard and said, "We are meant for more. There is absolutely more out there. Like, our minds are amazing. There has to be more." And for me, that was the moment that started the journey into what you shared in the intro, speaking, firewalking, etc., etc. So whilst there are many, and I hope and trust there will be many more, because we're here to have, I believe, that endless expansion, that for me was the most pivotal moment that brought me into this world of personal development.
What was your next step then? So you shut the folder, you startle your husband, and you have this awakening, let's call it a bit of awakening, that you are meant for more, that you want to, what was your more? Was it want to make more impact? You want to help people even more, or you want to learn more? What was your more and what was your meaning?
Being really honest, at that moment, I had absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea. I didn't know the personal development world. I had no idea this thing of public speaking existed. Impact? What do you mean? Like, I just didn't really, other than sort of contribution and donating and supporting charities, I didn't really understand making an impact, having a purpose. I'd never heard this language. I just didn't know. I just knew there was something more. So of course, I believe that when we hit a certain level of consciousness or we have a certain level of realization, we can't go back from it. We can get lazy with it, but we can't go back from knowing it. And I would guess from that moment, I just started to realize more and more how unhappy I was in this job, in this role, until one day I was sitting at my office desk and I have this window, right in front of the desk. And I'm talking up to 70 staff, 40 residents, doctors, nurses, families, visitors. Everyone passes that door. It's like in the hub, the center of the home, that window, sorry. And I remember one day I was sitting in front of that window and I snot cried. Like everything just poured down my face. Ladies, you know the feeling of mascara dripping down everywhere. Bubbly snot. Like it did not look good. I was sitting in front of the window and I didn't even realize. Breakdown moment.
And what was the thought that was going through your mind that triggered you to be upset, that had created the emotion that I'm guessing meant that you were needing to take action? But what was the thought you were having?
Well, I'll go to, in that moment, the immediate piece of action appeared. The thought I was having, I think, just enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. I really honestly don't remember my exact wording, but the feeling of enough is enough. I can't do this. I'm unhappy. I barely get to see my fiance at the time, let alone my friends, family. Just unhappiness, depression, overwhelmed, stressed. Enough. I cannot do this anymore. And as I had these snotty tears running down my face, I opened the local newspaper, and anyone that may listen to this awesome podcast from Cornwall, the West Briton, anywhere else, your local newspaper. I opened it, call it a divine moment, call it God, call it a universal intervention. I opened the paper onto an exact page that just had an advert that said, do you want more positivity? Do you want flexibility? Do you want to be your own boss? And like an absolutely naive Tasmanian devil with no idea what or how, just a desire to get out, I ran. And I said yes. They didn't even need to pitch to me. I was like, stop selling, I'm in. Like, just let me at it. And of course, that's when I then found on the personal development world and started to understand more of NLP, working with your mind, body, soul, everything that you teach so amazingly and share, supporting to people to become unstoppable. I learned and understood what was possible for yourself, and I took action on it.
Amazing. There's a few things that you said. One is, when you're meant for more, basically you said you can't unknow it. You can get lazy with it, but you can't unknow it. And I think it then makes the life that we're wearing so uncomfortable that it feels like I can't keep living it. And I think that a lot of people feel that they have to keep playing out the path that they've put themselves on. That belief system of I've started, so I'll finish, or, I can stick it out. And we're no longer living in that era where we have to punish ourselves with a path that isn't purposeful for us. And I think it's, as I remember Fatula saying in a previous podcast, it's like the slow death of the soul, isn't it? Absolutely. I tell you what I want to ask though. So you saw the advert, well, you make me remember the last time I opened up an evening paper and I bought a puppy. It was a long time ago. So they can be very life-changing when you open the paper. So what was the advert for? It says, do you want more positivity? And you went to something. What was the something?
Good spot. It was a network marketing at the time, Forever Living. And it was a lady that was recruiting to be part of her team for that company. Because honestly, it wouldn't have mattered what it was. I was just so desperate to get out.
Those companies are really great at being more of a personal development arena, that you demonstrate your mindset success through the results come through the sales, don't they? There's a few of them out there that people just love because they're so well looked after.
Absolutely. I think like with anything, it's your perception and your approach to it, and being aware that not everyone will become millionaires through that platform, and they probably won't in most industries and environments, but it's what you put in. And I will be, pardon the pun, forever grateful, because for me, that was the foundation and that was the platform that launched me into everything that I'm doing now.
Well, I want you to share all that is, but I've got a question first. So it's that transition, because there's lots of people out there, isn't there, that are doing a job that at best it's okay, but they feel like they should be doing something else, or they could be doing something else, or that they're meant for more. But this job is their security. And anything outside it is very uncertain, it's very scary, it's very risky, and it isn't, and actually the vision probably isn't even formed, or there isn't a knowledge around or clarity around what they want to do. And so money being, I think, sometimes a big off the cuff factor of what stops people from considering something else. What were some of your barriers? It sounds like, if there were any, you were like a puppy with the gate open. But what were some of your barriers from leaving the care home that must have been really well paid? You must have had a great status. You must have been loved and believed in and valued, to going on in a completely different direction.
I will interject there, and thank you for the kind words, but I think part of that is actually really knowing, and especially with the work that we do now, that actually I wasn't valued in that moment. And really, that was the feeling. So my truth is probably different to many. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of obstacles, a lot of challenges, a lot of fear, a lot of doubt along the path. But on that particular moment, for me, my desire was so strong. My level of I have had enough was that I didn't even need the silver lining on the other side. It was just about me getting out of what I was in at that moment in time. So I really didn't have that. As soon as I saw that advert, I set up the meeting. Like I said to you, she started pitching to me, and all I could think was, stop talking, I'm in. Like, I don't
Where
need
do
to
I start?
Exactly. And I went back, I handed in my notice, and this is important for people to hear. You know, speakers like Tony Robbins say, burn the bridges and go for it. I feel it's really important to know yourself and know your personality. So for me, my story is very different to a lot of people's, in that I did that. I went back, I handed in my notice. I didn't have children at the time. I was living with my husband. Yes, I had an incredible wage, but Harriet, A, has ADHD, B, is spontaneous, C, is impulsive, you know, all the things that led me to having the personality that went, I'm out, I'm doing it. I've had the meeting, I'm doing this network marketing, I'm handing in my notice, it's done, it's happened. And that served me very well in moments, but it's also caused me to make decisions from an emotional place that don't always serve me. So for some people, I would say, go for the opportunity, but have your security. What's the way of bringing it down to part-time? What's the way of setting the deadline, making the plan, but giving yourself that security as you do it? I've seen way too many people, and Lisa, I'm sure you have too. I've seen way too many people that get sold to at events, and they go into debt trying to fund this program. That's not good energy. It's not a good place to grow from. And ultimately, it doesn't work for the majority of people. So my route in was different, but I was so connected to A, the desperation, and then B, the desire that was formed, that I took action very, very quickly. Within 6 weeks, I'd matched my wage, and then my clarity of what I wanted to do started to lead me in a direction, and I just kept moving. At that time, like a Tasmanian devil, and now probably in a much calmer, much more grounded way. But I just took action in spite of fear.
Yeah. And what I hear is, and you know this term really well, you had like an enormous amount of away from motivation. And it could have been anything on the other side of that. But fortunately, you didn't move out the frying pan into the fire. You knew what your soul needed, which is why that advert really resonated with you and connected with you. And you knew that was actually probably the medicine that you needed from the care home. How long ago was the care home?
I left in 2016.
That's more recent than, because you are such an expert now. I feel like you've been doing it since probably 2006. So just share what it is you're doing now as a result of following your heart, your passion, and being all in with your decisions. It's amazing what you do now. So please, can you share without being modest or playing anything down?
Absolutely. And I'll also hold the mirror with the work that you do is absolutely outstanding. And the Firewalk that you led me through, and we had a conversation before this podcast, Ed, of how you showed up as a leader and were in that space, was such an important part of my journey too. So I want to honor your work. To give a little context, and
let me just say this, because women, when we are good in community, we're really good. When we're supporting each other, where we can go is incredible. And
100%.
when women are battling each other in order to stand out or to gain market share, it's just so unnecessary, isn't it? And you're so good at championing people. It's not just women, but I am a woman, so I'm going to say women, because also we can all be each other's reflections and ambassadors and support mechanisms, because I had no idea. I mean, I know you were very complimentary at the time, but I had no idea that little ingredient that made a difference to you. And likewise, when I really needed you, you were there. So, and held and being listened to and being told, that's great, go for it. Brilliant. It cannot be underestimated. It cannot be underestimated. But also, you did come with a lot of skill, and because you're an authority in your field. So I think I love where sisters come together, and all that they're interested in is how can I help you? So, and I'm sure that people listening either have people in their lives that are like that or want them. And if you want them, then our tribes, well, we are a tribe, but our tribes offer that that kind of dynamic, positive infusion that you don't often get in normal friendships. And I know that both of our worlds, we're pretty committed to having great people in it. So I know we digressed a tiny bit, but I think there's something to be said for sisterhood, isn't there?
100%. And I think it's something I've started sharing. To be honest, it came out naturally in a moment, and the whole room just really connected with it. I was in a female empowerment event. It was all women. And I think what you're speaking to now is so spot on and something that really kind of needs to be heard. We're past all the cliche posts on Instagram. Now we're into living it and doing it for each other. So I want to I mean, my slogan is let's rise together. But I really believe that within that, you need to remember it's develop as me, rise as we. It still means total responsibility for yourself. And I really speak to it. And you know, it took me a while to get comfortable with sharing this, but I want to say, like, I'm still that girl. I'm still that girl that got jealous. I'm still that girl that judged myself. I'm still that girl that saw a picture and made a horrible comment about a woman, or commented on, oh, it was easier than her because, or I wish, you know, I've said all of those things, and at times it still comes through. But my heart and my core, I always know to be the truth. And for everyone, no matter what your story or your disempowered story or limiting belief or judgment of others is, once we really accept that within ourselves and see it and love it, our light side and our dark side, that's when we really can champion each other. And it doesn't mean that we're the most perfect, kind, wonderful woman in every single moment. It means we have our darkness, but we live and we approach from love.
Well, that's so good, because I think that people have this misconception that if you're working in the spiritual world or the personal development world, that somehow those aspects of us are erased, completely erased.
You know,
We are immune to jealousy or self-doubt or self-deprecation. And I'm pretty sure that you're the same as me. I went through a phase of having a big journey to plow through. And now, if I have those thoughts, I know that they're just thoughts and I can maneuver them. They're not happening to me without me knowing. And they're less than they've ever been. They're minutiae. But like you say, we're still human. Nobody took out the chip that said, right, well, you won't feel a thing again. You'll just be able to produce this material.
exactly.
I can't even remember and I love as well, it's the let's rise together. It's the me development with the we rise. Is that right?
Develop as me, rise as we.
Yes. I love
You can use it.
what was my question? What do you do now?
We went a little bit from the paper. So what do I do now? To give a little bit of context, and I'll run through it quickly so I don't bore your listeners. But from that moment of the paper, as you all know, I jumped in, I went into this personal development. And I think this part's important because so many people say, know your message, have clarity, know what you're doing, but that really evolves. And so for me, I just took that first leap, and it was into network marketing. It took me a while to realize I love the company, I love the products, but this doesn't light me up. This isn't what I want to be doing every day. But the personal development side of it was. And of course, I went through my own journey of healing, coaching, NLP. I became qualified, got my master's in NLP, and I started to do coaching, one-to-one mindset coaching. And again, I just realized, like, please don't get me wrong, I think coaching is one of the most powerful, transformational, beneficial things that anybody can do. But I realize it's not my strength. Like, I'm not your best coach. If you want a speaking mentor, if you want a firewalk guide, like, I'm your girl. But one-to-one coach, I'm not the best at it. I know amazing coaches that I'll refer you to, but I'm not the best at that. And again, I had to realize that to then take the step onto the speaking path. So I just kept taking those steps. I actually heard it was Les Brown. For anyone that doesn't know, Les Brown was probably the most famous motivational speaker for a long time. I would say there are other as well-known speakers now, but for a long time, he was like the number one guy. And I used to listen to him over and over and over and over again on YouTube. And at one point, I heard him share his story. And he said, I was at a speaking event and I was listening to Zig Ziglar. And my friend tapped me on the shoulder and said, you could do this. And Les said, what do you mean? I can do this? Like, what even is this? I don't know what you mean. And they said, you could be a motivational speaker. And Les, thinking I don't know anything about it, felt inside of him, yes, this calls me. And listening to him sharing that story made me go, oh my gosh, boom, right? That was another moment, meant for more. This is what I'm meant to be doing. And so I really, you say about having a lot of expertise, and I appreciate you sharing that. I really feel that I've packed what some people do over many years. And don't get me wrong, of course, some people have vast amount of experiences in that. But I really I left my husband for a year to immerse myself in this journey. I went and learned from some of the best. I was speaking around the world to big audiences, getting trained right the way through each month, regularly right the way for about 18 months, 2 years, until I ended up being a business partner to someone that was running these huge events around the world. So I launched myself in very quickly. And I want people to hear in that anybody can do it. I just did it. And you can too. Whatever it is that you desire, whatever it is that you're working towards. Was it scary? Yes. Was it hard? Yes. Were there moments that I had nothing in the bank and I was selling ebooks whilst driving to an event to just get petrol to get there, right? All of these moments. Yes. But if you really truly connect with what you want to do and why you want to do it, and I don't just mean all of the lovely external whys, I mean for you too. What does your life look like when you're doing this? When you really connect with that, I think it's Henry David Thoreau that says, when you know your why, you'll endure any how. So I just kept going and had this business relationship, which that's a whole different story, crumbled in the most shocking, hard, challenging way. But again, that set me off on my own path. So there's the context. And now, in answer to your question, Lisa, I feel blessed to travel the world running different events, as you know, like you do with firewalking. But essentially, I train speakers. I believe it's one thing to speak, another to impact. So I support those that have incredible wisdom, amazing gifts, amazing offers and programs. I support them to understand how to really connect with their audience in an engaging, effective way that supports both their impact and their income.
Said owning every fiber of that. So there is this saying, isn't it, that people would rather die than speak. And when you first got on the stage to speak, your very first message, what was it? Was it for you? Was it a story about your life? What was your first speaking engagement? Can you remember?
Not in terms of speaking engagement, yes, but the first time I sort of spoke was actually within this network marketing company, Forever Living. So I started speaking before I realized that I could be a speaker, if that makes sense. So it was obviously something natural within me. I was excited to do it, but I remember very vividly my first time, standing on the stage. There was about 100 people in the room. Like, words were coming out of my mouth, but in my head, all I could think was, can they see how much my knees are shaking right now? I was just really grateful that I was in trousers. But yes, terrifying, petrifying, awful.
It makes us wonder why we then go and do it again. I suppose it's a bit like women that have more than one baby. how we forget the trauma, the pain, and the challenge. And you remind me so much. I'm sure other people feel the same as well. I remember when I was employed, and any time that I had to speak, I would be so nervous. I would tell the whole team the night before, and then be nervous about the fact that they might notice that I'm nervous. So I completely constructed my own reason to be nervous. I was my own worst enemy.
Yeah. And and you teach this, but something, I always share to any speaker, external communication, the first rule of any communication is your self-talk. Before we think about how we speak on stage, how are you speaking to yourself? What story are you telling? And it's just beautiful that you had the awareness to see that for you.
Well, I tell you what, when the awareness showed, I knew it at the time, but I couldn't stop doing it. I don't know why. And then I came into self-development and started running my own workshops. And I thought, all these people have paid their own money to be in this workshop. I remember my first workshop was something like £25 for a 2-hour workshop, and lots of people were at it. And I was running it with a friend. And I had to really shift in my mind how I saw it, that these people want me to be good. They want me to help them, and they want to be here. So why wouldn't I just love them? Why wouldn't I just already really, really like them?
That's so true. Why wouldn't I just love them?
Make them love my flaws. But what tips do you give to your students, your speaker students that are nervous, that helps them push through that? Because the nerves can be a big barrier to them continuing on the path. So what do you do with them?
Absolutely. I mean, we could do a podcast and this on this alone. But I think I'll start it by saying, so first of all, it's that story, right? I think it's one of the biggest fears because it's one of the biggest stories. Public speaking is the biggest fear. And so many people have an experience of public speaking. They don't see it as public speaking at the time, but they have an experience of public speaking when we're in school, right? How many of you were in an English lesson where you were told to open the book, stand up, read out the paragraph, and as a kid it's like you go through as fast as you can, and then you shut your book and you hear all the other kids giggling, so you tell yourself a story, they're laughing at me, and I'm never going to do that again. So we develop what isn't a fear of public speaking but comes under the umbrella. Is it a fear of judgment? Is it a fear of making a mistake? Is it a fear of being seen? Is it a fear of making a mistake? Is it a fear of success, right? It's all the different nuances within that. So I think once we understand what the fear is, it's easier to, as you support people with, to reframe your mind and trust in your new empowered story, therefore taking action in spite of the fear. But I think for something that everybody can take away for me is BAF. BAF, B-A-F. Silly, easy, short word, but BAF. And again, in a nutshell, what it stands for, like what happens when we feel that fear? What happens when we feel anxiety? What happens when we start running the story of, what if I make a mistake? What if I forget what I'm going to say? Oh, what if someone asks a question that I don't know the answer? Like, you have a choice in that moment of where your focus is going. So first of all, breath. Like, let's literally do it right now. Lisa, everybody listening, just take a long, deep breath right now. It does. And if it doesn't, if you're listening and you're like, oh no, I still feel a little bit anxious, do it again. And maybe you are already in a good place and it's just even calming your mind. But the power of that breath within us, it naturally calms your parasympathetic nervous system, which lets you calm your heart, lets you calm your mind, and starts putting you in a more secure space. So number one, breath. And then going back to what we were just saying, awareness and focus. Notice, what is my story? We said a moment ago, self-talk. It's the first rule of any communication, especially public speaking. If you are standing backstage thinking about yourself with love, you're in the wrong job, because it really isn't. Speakers think it is because they stand on stage with the mic and the spotlight's on them and it's your content, but it's not about you. And the best speakers, the most impactful speakers, the most powerful speakers are the ones that focus on the audience. So instead of thinking what could go wrong for me, think about your audience. How is what I'm saying helpful? Why can it make a difference? How will it benefit them? When we start thinking and focusing on our audience, breath, awareness, focus. When you are focusing on your audience, you're no longer in fear. And Lisa, you know this, you teach this. As amazing as our minds are, we can't think positive, negative at the same time. So now we're out of fear and we're into faith. We're into service. We're into heart. We're into contribution. So come out of your head and into your heart. Breath, awareness, focus. Why does what you are sharing matter and make a difference to even one person in that room?
Amen. I tell you what, I've got so many examples of what you're saying. In September, I was one of the speakers at this female entrepreneur event, and I was doing the glass walk with them. They didn't know it. I was going to spring it on the. I mean, the organisers knew, and my job was in the 45 minutes I had was to empower them to go and run their own businesses that they hadn't yet set up.
Yeah.
I was out walking Lexi in the morning and I thought I'd love to get on camera a good sound bite. I'd love to be really punctuated and purposeful and when I was imagining myself and I was thinking I need to hold an energy and I just kept getting more and more nervous. And a little voice said to me, that's because you're focusing on yourself and not the audience. How do you want the audience to feel? And I had that just then, even the talking it and reliving it, I had that ease that just went, they don't need you to be this filtered, this performative. They just need you to shine a light into their heart, plant a seed in it, and leave them alone to get on with it. But to do it without. Lisa Nichols has a brilliant saying. I'd probably said it to you before. There's 4 things never to do when you're speaking. It's never prove, defend, expect, or protect when you're speaking. And when I remind myself of that, because if you're doing any of those things, it's all about me, I'm right. But when I remind myself of that, I just feel the tension and the stress and the anxiety and the nervous system just go, I always love it if people can remember who they are more than they remember what I've said.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I saw yesterday another firewalking school. I'd just done a post on Facebook to promote my firewalking instructor training course that's coming up. And in my video, I talked about do you want to help more people? If you're feeling that you want to do more, but you don't know what, and you need more for you, it was all about the person, not in a manipulated way, but how can they know the video's for them if I'm not talking about them? Then I saw somebody else's video and their video went with, my name is so-and-so and I run the busiest firewalking company in the world. And I just remember having a moment of thinking, I'm not running the busiest company in the world. And I thought, but why would that matter to my audience? Why does any of that matter to my audience? So what do you say to people in regards to how they're proving themselves and how they're presenting themselves?
I think, again, a lot of it comes back to the beauty of know thyself and really being aware of what is coming through you. And so for me, I will ask myself when I'm going to post, when I'm speaking, whether it be on a Zoom conversation, whether it be in the middle of a presentation on stage, I will take a breath. Maybe I'll take a drink like Lisa and I are now.
Vodka.
Pour some here. Whether I just take that breath and go, what is my intention here? And really truly ask yourself, I love what you just shared from Lisa Nichols. I think it's so powerful. Like, is this coming from ego? Am I being defensive here? And I'm so much better than I was, but for me, this is an area that I find really difficult, because I enjoy speaking up. I'm someone that stands for truth. I teach people to speak up in a moment that they feel is important for them. But that balance between being right or speaking up for something is very different. It's a different energy. So I think it's the best thing you can do is really know yourself and get really honest with yourself. And I rarely do this anymore, but there was a long time for me on stage where I showed up with a mask on and I was like, my go-to was Fire Harriet. That's how everybody knew me. Hyperactive Harriet. She's got so much energy. She's always on the go. So that is how I would show up. all the time. And even when I didn't feel it, like, oh, I don't really feel like doing this today, but I've got to show up in that way, right? It was very masked. Whereas now, like, I still bring my fire, and I can't help getting excited in those moments, whether I'm running it, whether I'm the speaker, whether I'm team, or whether I'm participant. I am in. So my fire comes alive in those environments. But I've learned also to really balance that with my calmer side. And actually, I love being in the middle of nowhere with nobody. I love quiet. I love peace. I love calm dinner parties rather than going out, whatever it might be, right? I had to get to know myself. And therefore, on stage, I had to feel and see, and it takes time. Am I showing up like just, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm taking all my naturalness, but I'm also taking all my experience and my expertise, but I'm not thinking about it anymore. I'm just in flow. My old mentor had a beautiful quote: master the form, flow with the formless. I'm at that point now where I'm flowing. So on stage, it's not conscious. Like, I'm not aware of what I'm doing. People will go, oh, Harriet, what did you just say? Or why did you do that? Don't have a clue. Don't remember. I'm in the moment. But it took a lot of time of going, I was masking then. That wasn't the real me.
Mm-hmm.
I answered that question, and actually, if they asked me again right now, I'd already give a different answer, you know? So it takes messing up. It takes fucking up. It takes honest reflection, not beating yourself up, but honest reflection. What am I doing well? And what can I improve on? And where am I showing up with a mask rather than like just raw me?
Yeah, and I think that I remember when I first wanted to be a speaker, and I would see some speakers and they'd be very performative, and then so therefore I would think I've got to be like them because being me isn't going to cut the mustard. And
Really
just
not.
like you, I mean, I bet there's so many speakers that feel that it's a performance or an act, or they've got to do it a certain way, and I'm sure you teach them all the ways of how to hold a stage and where you stand. How do people feel when they're in the audience and somebody stands there, or how when somebody's walking around and jiggling change in their pockets? Also, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you don't do a course on this is how you jiggle change. I remember once seeing a speaker and he kept walking up and down the stage playing with the change in his pocket. I have no idea what he said because he was just distracting me so much with the things that were his habits, his comforters.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's my point? Yeah, people putting the mask on. And when you realise that, I think it's when I became a firewalking instructor, there was something about me that I couldn't compare myself to other people because the other people on the stage weren't firewalking instructors. So there was something about me that, like you, that fire ignited in me. And then and there's a cleansing that goes when you've got an inner fire, isn't it? It does kind of cleanse some of the storylines, some of those well-trod neuro pathways that can get in the way. But you become like a light, I think. When there's a firewalking instructor on the stage speaking from their heart, not from the mind over matter and you've just got to believe in yourself and you're confident, not that, but from the heart, they speak heart to heart, don't they?
Absolutely. And I think you're a shining example of that, Lisa.
Thank you. I was because I was trained with Peggy Dillon, so that was my lineage. And
Meet this legend.
yes. But I tell you something interesting that I bet other people experienced last week, and this happens often actually. Last week, I delivered a presentation. It was Discover Your Purpose. It was on Zoom. It was like 25 people. And I'd used PowerPoint, or what the Apple version of it. I really hate doing that. Really hate them. But I knew that they needed some visuals. And we're going through a process. And then afterwards, I thought, I don't think I was very good. I think I raced through that. I think I read from the slides. I think I was monotone. I think my energy was low. I've really done myself a disservice. Then I thought, oh God, I should have maybe practiced. Or then I got a message from somebody that had been on it, that's been one of my students. She said, that was great, Lisa. I've like really unlocked something. And somebody else wrote, that's the best workshop I have ever been on. But in between receiving that, I left a message for the person who had organised it. Also, I'm not really a PowerPoint person. I mean, this person's known me for years and years and years and years and years, so I didn't undo any professionalism. I said, but I'm not very a PowerPoint person. I'm really sorry if you felt like it was rushed. And they all said, no, it was good. It was a good pace. It was, sometimes we need it to be fast paced because it stops us from creating a marketing brochure instead of getting our unconscious thinking out. Anyway, so I still didn't believe anybody. And the next day the video came out, was on YouTube, and I watched it and I thought, oh my God, I love her. That's not how I remembered myself immediately having just presented. And I watched it all and I thought, I've got a lovely eye contact. I've got a lovely nature. I've not got any filler words. I'm not reading. I'm telling stories. I'm acknowledging that it's a fast pace. But my mind, when I immediately finished it, pressed the button, felt good, immediately just erased the facts. Why do we do that? And have you even ever done that to yourself as well, where what you've just done just disappears almost with the time?
I love your sharing. I think many people will relate to that. And yes, I mean, I've done that a million times. I still do it in certain areas, but I will say now I don't do it with my speaking. And to kind of combine a little bit of what we were speaking about before with this, speaking is a skill like anything else. And I think like driving's one of the most relatable things for people. A lot of people drive. Like, how do you feel when you first get in a car? The levers, the buttons, the different pedals, the gear stick, the mirror.
Levers? What, are you flying a plane?
But do you know what? Genuinely, and I'm from the UK. What are these? I just know them as levers now. I'm laughing at the American ones.
Windscreen.
Like your
Indicators.
your screen wash, right? They have the sticky out levers.
The sticky out levers. Oh, we might forget what you're actually saying here I just find this hilarious.
Coming back in, there's an example of it, right? When we first start learning to drive, there's all of these different things to think about. And what does it feel? It feels uncomfortable. You feel a certain level of resistance about doing certain things. Are you kidding me? I need to keep my hands at 10 and a 2, but I want to do the full turn thing, right?
Yeah.
There's uncomfort and there's resistance. But now when you've been driving for a while, you don't even think about it. True or true? Like some of us get to a place and it's like, I probably should have paid more attention.
Yeah, I don't remember passing the bank, the shop.
Exactly. So speaking's like that. You mentioned being in different areas of the room, using tonality. Yes, there's a skill and there's a strategy to speaking. But I will also say that somebody that is in strategy mode, i.e. walk here for pain, walk there, bring crocodile tears at this point in your story, will absolutely lose the audience. And someone with no speaking skill that just stands in the middle of the stage and bears their heart will make more impact. So there is the skill, but as you say, there's the heart side. And I think for me, now into your second, like, oh my gosh, Lisa, 100%. I was my own worst critic. I didn't even get off the stage before I was beating myself up, right? I was looking out at an audience clapping and I was already thinking, I didn't say that. I missed this. I said that wrong. Like, awful. And I think, again, it came with that realizing and that knowing again that it's not about us, it's about the audience. And you start receiving the feedback, which I think at the beginning of your speaker journey, people coming up to me and saying, Harriet, that was amazing. It fueled my ego. It felt good. And it supported me doing it. But now if someone comes to me and says, Harriet, I think you're amazing. I wish I could be like you. I'm like, no, I've not done my job. Yeah. You should be saying, I feel it's possible for me. I'm excited for my path. So again, it just came to thinking about the audience. And now after every talk, I just ask myself 2 questions. What went well? What can I improve? It's not about beating yourself up. Before the speech, it's game time. It's match time. You show up as the best you are in that moment and you deliver. And then afterwards, for me anyway, like everything's just another practice match. Like, how do I just keep getting better? Not from the point of view of beating myself up. And now it's almost switched. Like I say, I was terrible at it at the beginning. But now someone will say like, how did you find that went? Did you enjoy it? And I'll go, yeah, like I know I deliver every time, but I might say, yeah, I wasn't at my best today. And someone will put a hand on my shoulder and go, oh, Harriet, don't be hard on yourself. No, that's just true.
Yes.
I delivered, but I
Yeah.
wasn't at my best. And then another time I'll come off stage and I was in complete flow and I'll be like, yes, thank you, universe. Thank you, audience. Thank you, me. That just all came together and was amazing. And someone will go, how did you feel it went? And I'll say, awesome. So again, it's not about beating yourself up. It's just having an honest level of reflection. And after every practice, after every speech, just ask yourself those questions. What went well? What can I improve on?
Yeah, I love that. I think, is there a time delay? Should we leave it a certain length of time before we do that reflection?
Again, I think it's different for everybody. You know, if you notice yourself going into a downward spiral, pause and just do anything in that moment that you can that is not focusing on that, because you're not in a calm, emotionless, and I don't really mean emotionless, I just mean not emotionally reacting to anything. You're just in a calm state of mind to honestly reflect. So I would say for some people that may be a minute, for some it might be 5, for some it might be 10, for some it might be an hour, for some people they need to sleep in it and come back to it the next day. But I think, again, right, it comes back to this, and it will for me. I think the best speakers are the ones that know themselves. It's not about how we show up on stage, it's about who we are off stage, in our own minds, in our family conversations, in our friendship conversations. You and I spoke a little bit about this, but we didn't say these words. I really think like it's not a performance. Who you are on stage should only ever amplify who you are off stage. You know, Lisa's met me. Like I go into
Beautiful.
my cupboard to get balsamic vinegar out to my husband and I'm singing and I'm celebrating the fact that it's a spray bottle, because how genius is that? Spray bottle balsamic vinegar, right? But if you're not that person, don't force it. Don't show up in that way on stage. And the same for me, like I used to get scared of bringing my fire because everyone kept telling me, Harriet, you're not grounded enough. Harriet, you're not bringing enough calm. And to a degree, that was true, because there was a time that I was way too Tasmanian devil energy and it just became overwhelming. But actually, I started to realize you don't speak like that. And that's okay that you don't. You should only ever speak in your style and your authentic way. But this is Harriet's way. Again, I think we've just got to know ourselves and keep building that relationship. Know that we're never the finished product, but how can we bring who we are off stage and just amplify that? Especially, you know, if it's a stadium of 10,000, 100,000 people, then you just make it bigger, not false, not forced, not a performance, but just amplify who you truly are.
Mm.
I think I went off topic and answered more then, but
No, I think there's so many things I want to say. Do you feel that audiences can feel it when somebody doesn't walk their talk, where they're imparting knowledge and yet somehow they are not living what they're teaching? What they're teaching is correct, but they're not living it. They're just regurgitating it. Do you think that audiences can feel that?
Yes, 100% yes. And yeah, I always notice, so I'm just bringing everything here, Lisa. I always notice a little voice in my head when I say that, of like, yeah, but do they? Because I remember a time where I had a particular speaker who I just put on a pedestal, right? And I absorbed hook, line, and sinker everything they said. I thought they were absolutely amazing, outstanding. Oh my goodness, wow. In time and through experience, there's a difference between judgment and experience. In time, with experience, I started to see like, oh wow, they're not who they say they are. I am not aligned with this. Absolutely not. And from that moment, I could never not see it, right? And now, you know, I've been in a room. In fact, I was in a room, I won't be too mean and give it away, but I was in a room at the beginning of this year at a multi-speaker event. And the speaker before me was just like, I could feel it in the room. The whole room just went flat because nobody believed it. There was fake crocodile tears. There was clearly agenda-driven stories and pushes, etc., etc. So yes, I do think people can feel it, but I also feel that there's that part of your journey. I can spot it now, but I didn't at that time. The reason I didn't was because I was a little girl needing validation, needing reassurance, needing external validation again, that I wasn't taking ownership from me and being able to really feel what was going on in that room, if that made sense. I came from a place of insecurity, but when I healed that, now, yes, I do believe that your audiences can feel it, but also don't beat yourself up if you didn't see it with someone. because sometimes we need to learn the lesson in a more challenging way, and that can come from speakers that show up with false advertising, shall we say.
I mean, I just think our intuition can just feel something's off here. Like I remember one speaker who spoke about being an adventurer, and yet he was grossly overweight. And I thought, your stories are so inspiring, but you're not matching the message. And so that really made me, that for me, that brought about me a congruence, that I wanted to always make sure that I was congruent. And I think along the lines of what you're saying, rather than think, oh, I'm going to judge you for being an overweight past adventurer who hasn't got an adventure in the tank booked up, rather than me judging that, although there is an element of it in the way that I'm saying it, I think I needed to feel that to know the value for me, what congruence was. And that would always be one of my values in speaking. That would always be congruent.
Yeah. And I think you're spot on there as well. I think for anyone that is in touch with their intuition and energy, at that time, I had no idea even what that meant or what it was. But I think for anyone that doesn't you'll absolutely feel it. Yeah. And the same the other way, right? You'll also feel someone's heart.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
feel when they're genuine, and they could make 100 mistakes on stage, but it doesn't matter because they've got the wisdom in their hearts. They're coming from a heart-centered.
It's interesting because whilst I feel like, oh, I want to be one of the speakers that people get a snapshot of, and it's like like a minute, and the minute is just brilliant and it's just so poised. And so I really want that. And then what I really want is for people to feel like we're all in my lounge and I'm having a conversation with them and that they're hooked in. And I thought, well, those are opposing. You can't have that sound bite that other speakers have, that I think are rehearsed and have a script and they say the same words over again. And I don't know whether that's a thing or not a thing. But because when I speak as I'm having a conversation. I want to be that.
Could I jump in?
Do. Just like we're at home.
I don't agree, and I don't think they're different.
Tell me more.
So, first of all, is there an element of certain videos that both you and I and everybody does that are marketing and inviting people to a program, to a course, to an event? And are there certain ways of wording that, not scripted, but heart-centered ways or phrases that you can get used to saying that come through? Yes, absolutely. But it doesn't need to be in that robotic, polished way. And I would actually say that once you know what it is that you're sharing, selling, or the point of what you're doing on that video, the more focus of energy you put into the second option you said, which is who you are, Lisa, and you show up as a speaker like this, you're having a conversation with your audience. And the more you focus on just being there for your audience and having that conversation, the perfect soundbite will come. Because now you're not focused on getting it, your energy's elsewhere. But when you're just present in focusing on the conversation that you're having and the camera just happens to be rolling, now you take your soundbite from your present, beautiful, wonderful conversation.
You're good. You're good. How important is self-trust? A ridiculous question, Lisa.
I mean, come on.
Who are we without it?
Don't need it. Carry on. No, absolutely. As a speaker, 100%, but also just for yourself, for your life, for your loving relationships, for your friendships. Or, people don't realize actually how much, if you really give yourself both self-trust and self-love, you don't realize how much, I'm getting goosebumps sharing it. You don't realize how much that ripples and how much it can enhance absolutely every area of your life. And I know that you're living that right now, Lisa. So we agree here. And it all starts with you. No matter who we are or where you are the center of your universe, your business, your everything. And the more we give ourselves that love, that trust, and that space to mess up, but also to shine.
That's it, isn't it? That's just it. Allow yourself to mess up. Speaking of messing up, I want to know a few things. And forgive me, I just checked the time because I have got somebody coming here for a session. And she said she'd let me know when she said stuff. So we've still got more time to speak. Yeah, bombing. Have you ever bombed on the stage? I have. Definitely once. Definitely once. At least, well, yeah, there's definitely been one time. Have you ever bombed?
I've tripped off the edge of a stage. I've gone completely silent and had no idea, like awkward silence, not like power pause, awkward silence. What the hell is happening? And I've definitely, I think, more so at events rather than keynotes. I've had some times where I've really been in like my masculine, sort of forceful and like, this event needs to run this way and on this time schedule, and I almost went into a military operation, which does not make your audience feel good. So yes, I've had some bombs, I've had some awkwardness, I've had literally falling off the stage.
Well, in that case, I've had two bombs.
What were yours? What were yours?
Mine was I had a half an hour segment at this big marketing meeting, but they were people that were self-employed and they were like agents, resellers of this particular product that I won't mention. And I don't think I was the best speaker for them because they didn't really want to move. They didn't particularly want. They were quite happy just to stay in the seat and have the food brought to them. And whereas I'm talking about how the mind works, how we can achieve even magical results, and what the process for that is, and I did the arrow break, and a man got. I mean, I've often, you know, got maybe like a little scratch on my face because I'm at the other end of the arrow. I don't mind. It's part of the excitement. But this man, the arrow like made his face bleed a tiny bit. And I remember saying, and I'm sure we've all done it, where we think, why did I say that? And furthermore, why am I outing myself on my own podcast, really? But anyway, I definitely learned from it. And it was probably it was about 10 years ago. And I said, when he got a tissue and wiped his face, I said, thank God you signed the disclaimer. I immediately thought, what are you saying? Because I thought that'd be funny, that I'll lighten it up, but none of them were really laughing. And then we came to do the rebar bend on the stage. But I was doing it with the marketing director, and his boss was there, a lady. And he was terrified of having to do his part, which was following me speaking. And I'd briefed him on how we do the rebar but he was so in his head he couldn't do it. So then everybody's energy's dropping. Then his boss, beautiful lady in a beautiful suit, high heels, says, I'll do it. Steps up, no energy in her body, high heels on. And I said, you have to take your shoes off. No, I'll be fine in this. We couldn't do it. Now, this is something that I've done loads of times with audiences, as well as leaders of companies.
Yeah.
And you just know when actually you're the wrong person for that audience with the wrong message, the wrong energy. And the audience's energy was dropping and dropping and dropping and affecting the outcome of. And I thought after that, I will never speak again. Not because I'll never get work again, but just because I just thought, how did I get all of that so wrong? And I think I've said it in my summary. I was the wrong energy, the wrong speaker for that particular group.
I love the openness and sharing of it. But I think it's in those moments, I say this to speakers all the time, like, again, if you're aware when you're doing it, like just go through that moment of like, well, that worked, that didn't, that worked, that didn't. You reminded me because you were specific to the arrow. It's literally this summer I did the graduation talk at Truro School, and the subject was courage. And I was super grateful that we managed to get the headmaster on board to do an arrow break, which showed me how times are changing. And I love it. And I want to give him a shout out for being so open to do that as the headmaster. So he came on the stage. And of course, as you know, Lisa, you sort of, show the arrow and you test the arrow, and it makes quite a strong noise for the people listening. You sort of tap a full wooden arrow onto the stage or onto whatever surface is there. And again, it's that moment of suspense. It's that moment of, are we really putting an arrow to our throats? Well, of course, when I was tapping, for some reason, there was not much bang or not much noise. So I really heavily went bang and the arrow snapped. the test
I'm
arrow that
done.
I'm building suspense with, that is tough to break, and your headmaster's going to do a challenging thing, break. Thankfully, like in my hand. So I think if you'd been really close, you could notice, but I had to just sort of pick up the arrow and keep going. But again, it's as you say, we learn from these, and in the moment
Yeah.
it's mortifying, but then it's just yeah, I don't call them mistakes anymore, mistakes.
Yeah, mistakes. But they keep us humble, they keep us with our feet on the ground, they keep us learning, and they keep us reconnecting into I'm not the important one, the audience.
But I can so imagine what you said with that disclaimer, like knowing you and my sense of humor too. Like I could so, and thank goodness you like, laugh it, especially English banter, right? But I can also see it being very awkward in a moment.
It was. What have you got coming up, darling? What training courses are you running that anybody listening or watching can find out about and come on? What are you doing?
Thank you for the question and the invite to share this. And I just want to say also thank you for the opportunity to be on this platform. Your podcast is absolutely outstanding. And
Thank you, darling. We need a week, though. I'm feeling
yeah, we
like
do. We
this
need more
hour's not
time.
this hour's not touched the surface.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you to everybody that is listening. I certainly invite you, if you've got any thoughts or questions, to just send me a DM, get in my face, connect in one way or another. But online, my main area really outside of mentorship is our impact program, a really powerful program to support entrepreneurs that are truly ready to step into that power. And as we said right at the beginning, increase their impact and their income, share their gift in an effective way. And I've also got an event in London coming up on the 22nd of March, which is a one full day event about living in your power. Essentially, all the things we've been talking about today, but in a one day live event.
Where is it in London? What can people expect from the day? And what will they be participating?
It's very in central London. I'm sure we can add a link near the
Mm.
Soho area. Beautiful venue. It's called the Palm Room. By the way, any other event organizers found a wonderful place in London. So it's in that block, it's Palm Room. What can they expect from the day? If you are someone that knows you have big ideas, big goals, a vision, not resolutions, but intentions for the year ahead, for your life, particularly for your speaking and your business, and you really want to step fully into your power and not just speak but impact anymore, this event's for you. What story is getting in your way? What is holding you back right now? We spend the morning getting really open, really honest in a safe space with each other to really, as we were saying earlier, not beat ourselves up, but reflect and understand what has been holding us back. Then we bring a loving acceptance to exactly where we are now and a new empowered story along with the skill to maintain that shift in your everyday life. So how can you really not just have a spark and a fire in the moment of the event, but actually truly live in that power? To, as you say, be a human. I love to call people warriors. You have a warrior within. You have the fire. Joe Dispenza says you have a genius. Whatever word it is, just to remind us that you're human, but you can live from a place of peaceful power. And that is what you'll gain from this day.
Living in peaceful power. I think that is a really important point to add on or include, as you have done, because so often I think people associate power with, are you ready? Well, I've just blown somebody's eardrums out there. Sorry. If you're walking along quietly with your dog or even driving, suddenly I've just shocked you. The people do think, can think, not everybody does, but can think that power is this external thing, and actually true power is peaceful, in flow, alignment, that we're all switched, that all our confidence, self-belief, focus, energy is all aligned and switched on. So that, I think that's such a valuable part of what you're saying. Sounds great. And if somebody wanted to be a speaker and to train with you and be mentored by you, do you take on new clients? Do you have to interview them? What's the process?
Right now, I have a waiting list in 2025. I'm certainly booked up for the first 6 months for one-to-one mentorship. I don't work a lot of one-to-one because I really go through everything with that individual so they have a profitable speaking business where they're making both impact and income. So my one-to-one mentorships really are few and far between. But really what I'm so excited about and proud of, and I'm going to be honest here, I've been doing online programs and memberships for about 5 years, which I'm not saying is like a long time, but it's enough time to have really tested and shared a lot of wisdom and content in the online space. And for the first time ever, like I'm just being truthful now and transparent, for the first time ever, I feel truly proud, aligned, and excited by what we're selling online. It launched just before Christmas. It's a combination of a membership and a program. You get all the resources and information that you need, but you get a supportive community and me coming and answering your personal questions on the live calls. So I don't know if anyone watches Friends, but there's a moment in Friends where Chandler says to Joey, jam or women? And Joey says, put your hands together. For me, I had that moment with a membership and a program. So now that is the only thing that I offer online. I do have some kind of just online programs that you can buy and go through. But in terms of coaching, that's the only thing I offer. But it's also the thing that I know can give you what you need to build your speaking skill and to build your speaker business. Too many people are speaking without making profit. Too many people are sharing incredible wisdom that isn't landing. I am on a mission to help those individuals really get their message heard, but also increase their profit by doing it.
Wow. So we'll include all the links in the description box. Harriet, thank you so much. This hour and 8 minutes have flown by. This episode is jam-packed of wisdom and truth and honesty and inspiration. Thank you, darling, from the bottom of my heart.
It's just been an absolute pleasure to be here, both of you and your audience. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, darling. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you would like to be involved in the Meant for More movement, then please drop me a line at lisa@lisaclifford.co.uk. Whether that's you're interested in being on the podcast, taking part in any of the trainings, or would just love to know how you can help empower others, then let's have a conversation. Thank you for listening, and we'll connect again very soon.